In my relatively short lifetime, I've come to know a vast majority of games, stemming from the vast landscapes of Far Cry to the creativity found in Little Big Planet, or the brutality found in games of Netherrealm. I've seen a goddamn lot of it. But why? Recently, there has been much discussion of games simply not being what we've been used to. For instance, the most recent Call of Duty has been widely critiqued for its shallow, rushed campaign. Even if the stories aren't rushed, it most certainly is the case that a lot of new releases this year are poorly optimized messes spat out for the sake of corporate profit and to appease stakeholders. Gaming is an incredibly popular medium after all, and who doesn't love sweet moolah? Whilst games of the past often packaged all content upon release, products nowadays slowly churn out content for users to devour through a period of time. These games are known as live services. Most of them are MMOs and in theory seem like a great idea for a game to constantly evolve for their users, giving them the ability to access different kinds of gear, skins, or story expansions that can ideally be free of charge. Unfortunately, however, not everything sounds as good as it seems. Oftentimes, these games are rushed out without a good amount of starting content. Take Payday 3 for example. Upon release, the game only took roughly 6.5 hours to finish. Whilst great for Game Pass users, people who actually bought the product bombarded sites like Steam with negative reviews due to this aforementioned lack of content. In my view, the problem is built upon this false pretense that games are similar to films, in that they can be released seasonally, as you would a season of Stranger Things. But the problem is, films give its audiences a narrative, a story, and oftentimes these live service games when released don't even have that. Nothing's finished, content is missing, and developers think consumers will just blindly accept this. But time has shown that on occasion, gamers will not take this kind of abuse. Take the newest Call of Duty for example, which had one of the shortest campaigns in recent memory, and appeared to be more of an add-on than a fully fledged game, and as a glitch recently found out, it seemingly was. Invariably, consumers keep on consuming these live service games, and time again when they consume those games, they despise them. Take Diablo 4 for example, which was loved and lauded upon release. The game fizzled out as soon as gamers realized how lackluster the game was after its completion, and how little content there was to do after the game finished. In a bid to artificially inflate the game's runtime, XP gains were introduced, and it didn't solve the problem at all. It seems to me the only model that actually works is the season pass. Now I hear the yelling, the booing, and yes, the screeching, and yes, it will cost you more upfront, but in turn, developers put a lot more effort into these and they seemingly have a higher rate of success than the alternative. Witcher 3's DLC was critically praised and took players far longer to complete than the new Payday. So yes, you pay more, but the return that players get on their investment seems well worth it. And yes, there are exceptions to this, but I think the evidence speaks for itself. Alas, that brings us on to our next subject. Gamers can be brutal. One doesn't have to look further than the backlash of Battlefront 3 where an EA copped a backhand right to the face. Right when the Disney overlords didn't like the negative reception that the brand was getting after a lot of Reddit posts. I was one of them. One phone call was all it took. I repeat, one. But it seems that in recent memory, the effect gamers have had whilst weighty hasn't been as big. Imagine if Jedi Survivor copped the same amount of backlash Battlefront did. My god, then maybe it'd be a solid 60 FPS on the next generation of consoles. Wishes and dreams aside, I don't know about you all, but my country is currently in a cost of living crisis, and games are well over what they used to be. And yet, gamers seem content continuing to purchase subpar games for higher prices. Even critically praised releases like Spider-Man 2 were a buggy mess upon release, and although I loved the game's verticality and speed, the abundance of technical errors most certainly hindered my enjoyment. Alternatives may overall be cheaper, but offer less control to users. Game Pass games aren't really your games, and they can leave your library just as quickly as they came in. It's a sad but vital truth to take note of as physical sales of games dwindle. A similarity seen to a greater extent in the medium of film, as subscription services were introduced. However, with regard to gaming, subscriptions don't seem as effective to games as Netflix is to film. I think this is due to the nature of games that are often content rich and take a lot of time to digest, which hopefully doesn't change anytime soon, opposed to films which are often 2 to 6 hours, depending on whether or not it's a movie or a series. Regardless, there seems to be a bigger divide in the quality of games nowadays as they become less and less reliable. Either they're a bloated, buggy mess, or just plain boring. And there doesn't really seem to be anything to do to fix it. But hear me out, at least we're getting a GTA 6 trailer next week. Ah, God, I hope it's not another 10 years before we get another even sneak peek. One might ask oneself, what now? We're in such a bloody bad shindig that we seemingly can't get out of. EA, Activision, Ubisoft, all of these entities just aren't getting better. Even re-releases aren't the same. You have a wallet, use it. If a game is being a bit poopy like the new Call of Duty, then don't pay for it. The best way to make these companies listen is yes, firstly whinge about it online, but secondly fight for a refund, or better yet, don't purchase the game to begin with. We can cry all we want for days of old, but it's just not coming back. Or just pray to the elder gods that the games come to Game Pass so you can use that $1 subscription, play the heck out of it, and then bail out of the payment. Well, that's all for today. Thanks for watching. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, check out other videos on the channel for more scrumdiddlyumptious content. It's been a while, and hopefully I can continue with weekly uploads, but for now, have a fantastic day, you beautiful people. Bye!